Good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani. It's been quite an eventful yesterday, actually. One can't say quite an eventful week yet. Quite an eventful day it was yesterday. I dare say the End SARS protest caught so many people by surprise. It's not that advance warnings or alerts hadn't gone out that, look, this is going to be happening on Monday, and all of that. But people sort of, took it, they thought they could take it in their stride. Well, a lot of people were locked down in traffic for anywhere between 4 to 6 hours. So there you go. You were in traffic for 3, 4, 5, sometimes even 6 hours. And it was, well, one has to be careful about how one says this. Largely a peaceful protest depending on where you happen to be caught up. If you were caught up in Ikeja, it was a peaceful protest. However, there were different stories emerging from different venues all over the country. Even within Lagos State, Surulere was not so good. Incidents happened over there that totally belied the way the police handled affairs in Ikeja, for example. The End SARS protest, one major block of it, camped, so to speak, right next to the governor's office. And then the police, I thought the police were commendable in the amount of restraint that they displayed. People were sitting on the, on the highways, spread out mats, just making sure that traffic couldn't move. On the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, just a stone's throw from the governor's office, for a time, there was a time when the expressway was converted into a dance, music theater. So it was that kind of a protest in that area, But as you know that I've read in the news or heard, it didn't go that smoothly in other places. Some places, protesters were even picking up trash after them. Anyway, the point here is that this seems to be some sort of a movement that is catching on. Now, it all started with End SARS. The Inspector General of Police, we all know, has spoken and has dissolved SARS. In fact, the president has also spoken now. He spoke late, as far as a lot of commentators are concerned, but he has spoken. But what we're hearing is what I'm going to put to my guest, and I have a couple of them this morning. But my guest is Curtis Adigba, our friend. He's a lawyer and public affairs analyst. Thank you very much, as always, for coming on, Curtis.
Thanks for having me.
What people are saying is that we've heard this story before 3 separate times in the past that SARS has been dissolved, has been ended, whatever. In short, SARS is no more. And now we've heard it for the 4th time. What would be your commentary as to what I'm hearing from some protester groups that we've heard this before. It didn't get us anywhere. Why would this time be different?
Well, there was no announcement that SARS had been ended before. What I do remember, and I think most Nigerians remember, is that government promised to reform SARS. Now, if we have seen enough reforms, or in terms of their behavior or subsequent activities, that's doubtful. However, this is the first time that the government has promised or has actually taken steps to end SARS based on the demands of the Nigerian people. So I think that is a slight difference. However, this is not a new movie. It's a movie we have seen before. And so the strength of government's promise will be seen in the coming days. But let's understand something clearly.
Okay, I hear what you're saying, but people who had this perspective of yours were also, being updated by social media printouts taken out of newspapers. One headline, for instance, in 2017 says, IG of police bans SARS from conducting stop-and-search operations. Another one from 2018 says, IGP Idris restates ban on SARS operatives from conducting bus and search raids. Yet another, this one is from 2019, new IGP orders immediate disbandment of FSARS. And then in 2020...
FSARS, that's the federal SARS.
There you go, yeah. And then in 2020, here we are, breaking. After public outrage, police ban SARS, other tactical squads from stop-and-search routine patrol.
And you are right, but none of these things you read out said categorically that SARS has been disbanded.
Okay,
It stops
so
them
that's the
from
big difference
stop and search
this time. Okay,
Yes.
I also have our other friend, Dennis Amakre. He's on Zoom. Good morning, Dennis. Oh dear, Dennis. Good
Good
morning.
morning, Yori. How are you this morning?
Very fine. Thank you very much for making the time for
Morning.
us. I'm in studio here with Curtis.
Okay.
So there you go. Now, Dennis, I was just saying, and
All right.
Curtis was sort of putting it in perspective. A lot of Nigerians think we've heard this before. Government bans SARS, but Curtis, maybe him being a lawyer and all, he's pointed out a slight, maybe even significant difference that, look, none of those previous three statements have actually said SARS was being disbanded. What do you think? Does it make a difference this time along? Because a lot of people are saying, we've heard this from government before, it hasn't profited us. Do you think this time is different, and how?
Well, like your guest said earlier, this is the first time that SARS was meant to be banned. That was what the protesters are saying. And of course, they went ahead to ban it. But, there are some underlying issues there. You ban them, and then, of course, you now send all of them to different units, and they are still there. They are still part of the police. And then, of course, they will still, under those different units, be carrying out the same things that they were carrying out. Because what is in contention here is the behavior of those people that call themselves SARS, and then how they have been carrying out their duties.
Well, Dennis, let me just stay with you for this next question before I come back into studio. How is it that the police seem to have lost control of one of their own units? Because everything those units, the SARS in particular, has been accused of doing is diametrically opposite to everything that a police force stands for. So, did they lose control, and how is it possible that they lost that control?
I think they lost control. The police authorities lost control on SARS because, they were formed here in Lagos when an army colonel was killed, and the army people were looking for the policemen running around all over town, and then the policemen went into hiding. And then, of course, as a result, armed robbers now hit town and were just robbing people openly. And the commissioner of police at that time suggested that, we'll create a specialized team, a strike force that will go out and counter this robbery that was going on. That's why they are special anti-robbery squad. But then the problem was that I don't think they gave them a very good rule of engagement or the standard operating procedure to be followed. They were supposed to attack armed robbers, then suddenly they started doing EFCC job by going into financial crimes, stopping people's driving in a car, searching your phone, and all those kind of things, which are not part of, what they were supposed to do.
Even that can hardly be said to be EFCC's job, perhaps.
Yes, because what is EFCC is economic and financial crimes. Financial crimes.
Yeah, but the abuse
SARS.
of human rights. Sorry,
SARS
sir.
Is
sorry, Dennis. Sorry, Dennis. What brought them to this notoriety, as you know, is their total disregard for human rights. Doing illegal things, let it be said.
Yes, total disregard for human rights and lack of control.
Yeah.
Lack of control by the police authority.
Okay. One moment, please. Curtis, here we are. It's a different kind of protest. In fact, there are those who are saying that they can't remember actually seeing this kind of protest, but they were referring to those places where it was peaceful, where protesters were picking up trash after them. In Surulere, I saw pictures of there seemed to be, I don't know that they were doctors or nurses, but medical personnel. And following an alleged shooting by a police officer, you saw people trying to resuscitate with all sorts of medical gizmos, and they definitely looked like professionals. And before they had said that, look, come prepared. If you're a doctor, please bring a first aid kit, bring snacks. It might be a long day. So those were still the admirable parts of the protest. But then videos emerged of Governor Sanwo-Olu trying to address them, to address a protest group in Lekki. And he had to vacate the scene as it appeared that, no, this wasn't secure anymore.
When you have a protest, and it is not concisely clear on what the objectives are.
Okay.
You have infiltrators.
Okay.
Who will come in there with criminal intent. And
but did this one have a clear objective?
Yeah, well, they wanted to end SARS.
Because they had,
that was the hashtag. They wanted to end SARS. And when the pronouncement was made that SARS had in fact been ended, they then shifted to prosecution, which the president eventually addressed by saying, no one found to have abused any Nigerian or violated their rights will be spared.
Okay.
But then people said it still wasn't enough, and so they had to continue.
They wanted to end, now they began end police brutality.
Look, the crowd that gathered protesting, I told someone that I like to divide them into 3 categories. Number 1, the genuine protesters had issues with police brutality, abuses and violations all over the country, want a better country, a civilized country where citizens can engage with their police and not be afraid to be molested, all right? Those ones, we had those people there who were protesting, and they were largely peaceful.
Okay.
We had another group of young boys, cyber crime practitioners, who are the #1 victims of SARS. Because SARS actually identified this group of people as money-making machines. That's why you see them hanging around banks.
Okay.
Once these boys are coming out from the banks, they just snatch them up and look for their phones and all that, and then try to do a lot of things with them. I've been involved in one.
Yes.
But we recover the money that they took from the guy.
Because I hear that they take you, and with the force of arms at their disposal,
yes.
They actually force you.
No, let me even tell you the story of what happened. This young man, his brother sent him money from the US using Western Union. First Bank Marina branch, he was coming out, he was snatched by a group of SARS policemen. They accused him of being a fraudster. He said he wasn't. He only went to the bank to take money that his brother sent to him. They took his phone from him, and they searched the phone. Another group took him to an ATM where he withdrew 30,000 and gave to them because they were threatening that they were going to waste him. Not satisfied, they took him to his workplace, a petrol filling station on Awolowo Road, Ikoyi,
okay,
where he borrowed 5,000 from his colleagues and gave to them. They left him. But at that point, another group of the same police team had entered the bank because they had seen the code sent to him by his brother and attempted to get the money, but they didn't succeed. So when his brother called me, we went to the police station because he identified a particular police station, Lion Building, that they came from Lion Building. So we went there. We met the DPO. And we told the DPO that the officers must be produced and they must return that money. We got the Sun newspaper involved. They sent a reporter. They came, interviewed them. They returned the money.
Okay. Now,
but that was because the brother probably knew what to do.
Yes.
But there are cases.
Could I ask you one question? Yes. Just because as you were narrating that story, some clues were unfolding. Because I was going to say, how did they typecast him? How did they know?
They have a profile system.
So that's what I'm
if
going to. I'm going to dreadlocks.
If you wear dreadlocks.
Okay.
If you sag your trousers.
Yes.
If you dress with an open shirt, t-shirt open. You wear earrings.
anything that the
Look,
modern youth
they have a profile
expressing
system.
himself,
Yes.
they have this profile.
But then, look.
So you got dreadlocks, you got an earring, you maybe
you
change,
you sag, you wear chain, you have one particular
distressed jeans,
the mohawk hairstyle.
There you go.
And then you found with different handsets, laptop, notebooks, and all that. They just profile you and then they take you out. But look, I think we simplify the issue if we think SARS is the only group in the police that is responsible for abuses. In fact, we have so many police teams across Lagos here, especially in Ikeja. I can give you some few.
But Sanwo-Olu was boasting, that look, in Lagos, and I put the word boasting in there, but he was thanking CP Dumoso, I believe, for keeping the force in Lagos on the straight and narrow, and he was attributing this to the fact that their police security fund or something like that was largely instrumental, because that brings me to another aspect.
I like my governor.
Yeah.
But I think he's in the bubble on this.
Okay.
He's in the bubble.
He's seeing only one aspect of the story, right?
Around, and when the siren is blaring, the police people know what to do. I'll just tell him one spot. When he's coming, next time my governor is passing.
Actually, that's the governor live. Let's just pause and hear him. That Governor Sanwo-Olu live.
Well, so next time when he's driving through...
I'm mistaken. I was told it was live, but I don't think
when
it was
he's
live.
Driving through Ikeja, from Sheraton Hotel, inward of Kwebi, there's a police team there. They are there every day. And one thing they do very well is to stop vehicles, ransack everywhere, take people's phone, take their phones, take their laptops and such. I've stopped on several occasions to confront them and say, look, what you are doing here is wrong.
You know, let's take that the thing I mistook for live. It's actually a package. Okay. There was the governor in there, and the governor put out on Twitter appealing to the protesters to give the protest a break today. He said he wasn't speaking not just as a governor, but as a father, as a brother, and as a son. He said in his tweet that all hands were on deck to lessen the tension, appealing to them to give a break. But I noticed that coming in here, the streets seem to be light because people seem to be scared that, oh, hope I don't get trapped as I was yesterday. Let's take that package.
These protesters gathered in their numbers. Some of them started arriving the protest venue as early as 6 a.m. And to drive home their point, the protesters overtook the Lekki Admiralty Way toll gate area, making it impossible for motorists to move, and this resulted in traffic congestion. It was difficult for the police commissioner Hakeem Odumosu, who arrived at the toll gate to address the protesters. The situation even became more intense hours later with the arrival of the governor. All efforts to pacify them didn't change much until a van was brought for him to sit on. Though water was occasionally thrown at the governor, he managed to address them.
If you cannot listen, then we'll have a communication problem. Thank you. I said to you that we're identifying with you. That we have said, but we don't want it to be unruly. When you have leadership and you have it staking out like this, then we can pick each one of them and we can deal with it. The president in his address said clearly that all the officers that are found culpable, they are going to face the full wrath of the law. It's recorded this morning.
Reeling out the names of victims of police brutality compiled by him, the governor promised to reach out to their families.
I'm aware that Ifeoma Abuga, I'm aware that Aneka Okore, I'm aware that Ayomide Taiwo, I'm aware that Kolawole Joshua, I'm aware that Christina Ugochukwu, I'm aware that Chidinma and God's Power Edolo, amongst a little list of people that we need to, part of your agenda is we need to get to the family and we need to compensate the family.
Determined not to litter the road, the protesters made provision for 2 waste bags in which they dumped the waste generated by them.
Okay, so there you go. As you saw there, I'd mentioned that at the top of the program. The protesters, in fact, maybe still hurting a bit. I saw something on Twitter where they were showing protesters cleaning up after the protest, and there were so many more bags than that. I think the bags would have been in their hundreds, and they were saying, protesters cleaning up after a protest. This country doesn't even deserve us. No doubt frustrated. You know, frustrations and angers, and angry, and the youths and all of that.
There's no doubt that there's a lot of frustration in the country. And I think the earlier we do something about these things.
Have we started to do something?
The
president finally speaking, because a lot of people said the governor didn't speak, the governor will not come around when it's election time. The governor has spoken. The president, he doesn't have an election to do anymore, to win anymore.
No, but he has a country to govern.
Indeed.
He's got a country to govern. He has a mandate from the people.
So he has spoken
And I think it was timely and proper. It was timely and proper that he spoke yesterday, and I think he addressed the key issues.
Okay.
Which is to say, look, we acknowledge the fact that there are issues with our policing system. We're going to do much more than you are asking us to do. We will attempt a wholesale reform of the police system, and we'll bring to justice all those that have violated your rights, you know,
okay,
and violated and abused your rights.
Okay.
And I think that should have a calming effect. But like I said, in the coming days, we are watching to see if the president is going to match word with action.
Indeed. Okay, Dennis, I didn't forget about you. Thank you very much for being there. Thank you very much.
Dennis is enjoying. He's taking his coffee there, so forget about Dennis.
Dennis is in his study right there. It looks like you're in his study right there. Okay, so Dennis, when you look at the president has spoken, there are those, and part of the content of it is what has just been shared by Curtis, that actually the president has stated that they'll probably be going beyond even what, you know, the protesters are thinking about. But the point here, perhaps, is that did it have to take a protest like this to get people going? Those labs, those continual retraining, all those monitorings that security service do, how didn't they know that this thing is going to become a problem if we don't do anything about it? Now it has become a problem. Now they're saying all the things that they're supposed to be saying. But did our security services drop the ball?
I don't think so. I don't think so. You know, if you remember, we've been talking about this. Reforming the police or restructuring the police. We want state police. All these are, you know, you see, because right now what you're seeing are the symptoms. The root causes are still there. The root causes whereby, you know, public safety is a problem in this country. Public safety is a problem because there is also a public trust deficit, where people don't trust the police, you know, and if you don't trust the police, how can they work for you? And then that is also derived from the governance part of it. So this thing is so complicated.
Well, let me be simplistic. I agree with you that it's a bit complicated, but let me be simplistic. I was on social media, a police sergeant who had been in service, a graduate police servant, who had been in service for 17 years so far, says she's taking home 53,000 naira per annum. As far as she was concerned, nothing is going to change as a result of this protest. She was phoning into a radio station, Nigeria.info, I believe it was. She was phoning Info FM. She was phoning into that station, and she said, she's a 17-year-old employee of the police force. She entered as a graduate. She earns 53,000 naira per month. I beg your pardon, not per annum, per month. And that until they do the right thing for police people and pay them a decent wage. By the way, she said when she came into the service, she made a pledge with herself that she was not going to live off corruption. She said she's actually regretting it. And she was making the analogy that a man who is paid so little, that so much is expected of, and you equip him with a gun, her words, what are we doing? Why do you expect that they won't misuse those guns?
Definitely. Definitely. You know, you remember Anini?
Yeah.
Anini, some of the guns that he was using were given to him by policemen because they were not well paid. And then, of course, they feel that they have to augment that salary some way or somehow. And that's why you see them every time you check, you know, you go through checkpoints, especially that one that your guest was talking about, the one by Sheraton.
Yes.
And maybe, you know, it's begging galore. They will beg you, first of all, if you're not ready to give, then they tell you to park. You know, and one day I followed them. I followed the routine, the dance routine with them. You know, first of all, it was we did under this sun, no. And then the next thing I said, well, you are doing your job. He said that I should park. I parked. He said he wants to see my boot. I showed him. Then I asked him, I said, come, why are you wasting my time? Are you looking for a car like this that was stolen? Or do I look like somebody that you are looking for in the traffic? You know, he said, when I want to, I tell him what
do you want to teach him his job?
Yes, I have to identify myself. And then he said, oh, you can go. But I said, no, I'm not going. Is this what you do to everybody? Is this what Nigerians are going through? You know, so you find out that we have armed people that, number one, we didn't check their background. We didn't know who they are. They are just, some of them were criminals. They find their way into the police. Even Obasanjo said it. Former President Obasanjo said it, that there are criminals in the police. You know.
So Dennis, you being of the community, so to speak, policing, security, and that kind of a thing, how doable do you think this, let it be called what it is, problem is? How solvable is it from with the background of knowledge you have? How easily soluble is it?
It is not easily soluble.
Oh dear.
Now,
okay, I've got to go on a commercial break. With that one-liner from you, let me go on a break and come back, please. Stay with us. We'll be right back. It isn't an easy job to do. Okay, welcome back. We're looking at the End SARS protests across the country with varying degrees of success if you're talking about the peaceful protest. It was peaceful in some places. In other places, something happened. They allege that there was police fire, and indeed there were pictures of people who were wounded. Even worse, allegedly killed in some cases. So, but the president, no less, has actually promised to reform SARS. When we left, it was with the words of Dennis Amakre, who is still with us on Zoom. He says this is not an easily fixed problem. My guest in studio actually has a different idea. We'll come to that. But first of all, let's look at the first two citizens of the country commenting on this.
I would like to use this opportunity to say a word on the recent genuine concerns and agitations by Nigerians about the excessive use of force and, in some cases, extrajudicial killings and wrongful conduct by men of the Nigerian police force. The disbanding of SARS is only the first step in our commitment to extensive police reform in order to ensure that the primary duty of the police and other law enforcement agencies remains the protection of lives and livelihoods of our people. We will also ensure that all those responsible for misconduct or wrongful acts are brought to justice. We also deeply regret the loss of life of the young man in Oyo State during the recent demonstrations. I have directed that the circumstances of his death should be thoroughly investigated. Meanwhile, it is important to recognize that the vast majority of men and women of the police force are hardworking and diligent in performing their duties. The few bad eggs should not be allowed to tarnish the image and reputation of the force.
SARS has been disbanded, and that the Commissioner, the Inspector General of Police, has also committed to ensuring not only that is it disbanded, but that whatever takes its place has the full participation of civil society groups and all other stakeholders. So I think what we're seeing is a very, and today, just a few minutes ago, the President also spoke about this and spoke in particular about the reform efforts. He said that the disbandment of SARS is only the first stage in a full-scale reform of the police force. And I think that everyone is committed to seeing a police force and also law enforcement that will meet the expectations of the Nigerian people. The purpose of law enforcement, the purpose of policing is for the safety of lives and livelihoods of Nigerians.
Okay then, so President and Vice President there, and because the Vice President used the word today, let me put that in context. That, as you know, was yesterday. He was speaking yesterday, also referring to the President's broadcast on it. So now to come back to Dennis Amakre saying that it's a tough nut to crack. You say you beg to differ. How do you mean?
Well, to the extent that if it's something we put our minds to it, and we have the courage to unbundle, you know, this convoluted system that promotes abuses, violations, and seemingly uncontrollable, we can do it. Look, the president, the highest political authority, the vice president, the next to him, are all sold on the idea. So what then is the problem? We can make this work. The truth of the matter is, the system of policing that we have today is not sustainable. I've said this over time. And this time I said this, people say to me, you know, it will be abused. Well, we cannot continue to live in the fear of what will happen while living through fears already. We can as well march forward with hope and confidence and strength of character to accomplish.
You know, these are nice words when we're talking about the police, and any patriot would you know, feel a glow because we know potentially all of this is possible. Shubon, actually,
but let me tell you what the problem is. First and foremost, let me tell you what the problem is.
Okay.
I think the system, the problem is, first of all, a systemic problem, in the sense that, one, how do we recruit police people? Mr. Yori, would you join the police today if you were younger? Is anybody in the studio here would join the police today? Would you allow your children to join the police? You won't. Because we have this mindset that the police in this country is a dumping ground for the never-do-wells.
Yeah, for if you've not been able to make it in other places.
So, yes.
Now you show up at the police recruitment.
Yes.
But does that affect graduates?
No, how are they even recruited? Now, you are taking graduates into a system that they have no power to change as they are entering.
Okay.
And then you talk about remuneration of the police.
Okay.
Policemen and women live in a society that we all live in.
Yeah.
The society where the managing director of a bank lives is where they live. Where the PA to the governors, where the governors and co. Their children attend the same schools. The only slight difference is that because they cannot afford a very expensive private school, they send their kids to public schools.
Yeah.
Now, they go to the same market to buy the same food. Why would you pay a graduate 53,000 who has served in the police for 17 years? And now, the other problem is there is also no data.
Oh, okay, one moment, please. I want to take this in chunks because Dennis is also with us. Dennis, let me paraphrase. let me paraphrase Curtis's question. Why would you pay a graduate of 17 years in the police force, who happens to be a sergeant, in this particular one example I'm talking about? Why would you pay that person 53,000 naira and expect him to be an exemplary police officer?
I think you know. Your guests there have already said it, that it's not an easy job. because from what is listing out now, that's not just an easy job. And if you listen to the vice president, if you listen to the later part of his statement, he said that this is not an event, it's a process. And to reform the police is going to take a lot of time, you know, but we can decide because of the problem. You know, when somebody has a very serious medical problem, you don't give the person injection. It goes for serious surgical operation. And then, yes, we can do what some other countries have done, like in the Ukraine, when they had this same corruption and unnecessary problems with the police. They disbanded the police totally. Everybody go home. And then recruited brand new people. You know, because what is going on is that it's like a culture. Even if you are very straight, you go into the police and then you find out that when they start to pay you 53,000 naira a month.
17 years after graduating.
Yes, and you have children. And then, of course, you have this criminal, you know, trying to... Let me tell you something, Yori. Most people that join the police want to go to SARS or Mopol. Why? You know, why do they want to do that?
Exactly. It's a rhetorical question, Dennis. I get you. I got to interrupt you for a moment, please. Please forgive me. I got to interrupt you for a moment. On the line, someone's on the line now. There you go. Mr. Joshua, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Okay, Uncle Yori, good morning.
Good morning.
I greet your guest.
Yes, thank you.
Uncle Yori, I don't know, maybe you will still need to continue to talk about this, how we can solve the problem of the police. I would say it's like solving the problem of Nigeria itself. This is a Nigerian organization. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, we have the police we asked for. We are the ones sustaining them. We are sustaining the police force through bribes. They are living off us. We pay them, right? Now, if we take the case study of the graduate who has been there for 17 years, that's a mindset problem. This same graduate should understand that this is a Nigeria where employment is a big issue, is a big problem. You are earning something off government is even a privilege in a country that is declared the poorest in the world. We have the highest population of poor people.
No, that's not also. That's not also. The poorest in the world is not also. Mr. Joshua.
What they are there for. Now it is about collecting bribes to build house, to send their children to school, to do all these things. Can't police have an insurance system that guarantees maybe some subsidy for their children and all that?
Okay.
Must they live off the public?
Okay.
Must it always be bribed?
Okay, so Mr. Joshua, I got to interrupt you. This is one of those topics. A lot of people want to get in on it. Thank you very much for calling in. The president has actually referred to a holistic approach to all of this. But as we've heard in studio here, it's not the easiest of jobs.
We have different security needs for different parts of the country. I hope you understand that where we had protests in the southwest here, south of the country, asking that SARS be ended. Mm-hmm. I also hope you knew that there were also protests in some northern parts of the country asking that SARS remain. Did you see that?
Well, I didn't, but
but you heard about it.
Yes, yes.
The song was saying, "Don't end SARS.
Well,
let them stay in place."
Nobody wants policing out of the way.
And that's
bad policing that they want out of the way.
So the point I'm trying to make, and that's why I keep coming back to this issue: the current police system that we have is not sustainable.
Okay.
It's not sustainable. Look, in other parts of the world, everything gone from state police to local government and township police.
You see, how independent really First of all, professional and independent is the police. By independent, I mean going about the job. I imagine you must swear to a constitution. There must be some swearing going on in taking up a job like that. And that means that you will do your job. You are empowered by society and by the state to do your job. How much of that process does our police have? Because we keep on hearing order from above.
Mr. Yori,
order from above. Let him go.
They have process in place. They have policies in place. The problem is the practice.
Yeah, so that's a big problem.
And the reason why it is a problem is because it's a command structure where people do not want to assert their rights. In other parts of the world, a policeman can refuse to take an unlawful order and execute it.
Exactly.
But it doesn't happen.
It can't happen here.
It doesn't happen here.
So,
in fact, what you see is that you have a junior officer imposing an unlawful order on the senior officer on the road.
It might happen.
I have seen a situation where I was stopped. They looked at my vehicle papers, and the most senior officer, they said I should go. And the corporal said I cannot go.
But that can happen in the army.
Yeah, he said I cannot go.
But that can never happen in the army.
And the senior officer couldn't do anything.
Is there a difference? That can never happen in the army.
Well, I don't know. So, you see, the army is out of public view.
Okay.
They are not,
okay.
They're not in
now,
public
just
view.
Looking at the discipline.
They're not in public view
because they're
much.
uniformed. I thought there might be similarities, not clones.
Well, until you see this, because don't forget that we have soldiers also doing stop and search on major highways. We see some snippets of this kind of activities.
Okay.
So it's a systemic issue, really.
Now let's look at the, let me go to Dennis. Dennis, let's look at the protests themselves. This is a different kind of, oh, Bayo is on the line from the UK. Good morning, Bayo. Okay, Bayo, just chip in when you can. But Dennis, speaking to you while we're waiting for Bayo. Bayo, are you there? Oh, Bayo.
It's not Bayo.
It's not Bayo. What is it?
Baiko.
Baiko.
Yes, Baiko from London, Yori.
Baiko from the UK. Good morning.
Yes. Good morning, Yori.
Okay, spell the way it sounds. Baiko.
Yes, Baiko. P-A-I-K-O.
Okay, we got you. We got you.
Yes, please.
Okay.
You see, what I want to contribute to this very thing, including the copies there with you. I don't know why are we after the police? Why are we after the police? You see, the situation is likened to when a man is diagnosed a leper. We are only treating rashes. Nigerians, we should tell ourselves the truth. Because I don't know, there are so many problems that facing the nation. So
okay.
For us are trying to crucify the police.
I hear you.
It's a problem that brought all these type of things. How many times you see, our president is very loved. It's a man that Nigerians love. Very, very love. Everybody loves it. But the problem that he has on areas of corruption, so many times they have told the president to change the service chief. Only for them to stay on the fence and be beating about the shadows.
Okay.
These are things. You see, we don't need to, lay every problem of the corridors of the police.
I hear you.
Most
I hear you, Paiko.
They were in UK here, and they saw that rule of law is ruled supreme in these countries and in America. But what we are playing in Nigeria, you could see corruption everywhere.
Thank you very much, Paiko. Appreciate your calling in. What Paiko is saying is that the Nigeria police is actually no more than a reflection of Nigerian society the way it is.
And so we shouldn't do anything about it?
No,
I think that's what
he seems to be saying, and then he later on he spoke about the resolve of this administration when he was coming in to take corruption on headlong.
I said it's a systemic problem. There is nowhere in the world where you don't have corruption. It depends on the degree. Talking about changing of the headship of the police and all that, we know of the Scotland Yard. The head of the Scotland Yard can remain there for as long as is possible. it doesn't mean you have to change the Scotland before the police can be effective. What is important? Look, the structure of the police system that we have in this country, like I keep saying, is unsustainable. It's unworkable.
Okay, one moment, please. Let me bring that point to Dennis. Dennis, you just heard. Well, give me your thoughts on that. Curtis saying that the structure of the police we have is unsustainable, really, and therefore we won't get what the president has just promised, a reformed police.
Yes, it is not sustainable. I agree, because we are still using, you know, let's sit back and first ask this question. Why was the police formed in Nigeria? They were formed originally to take care of the colonial masters. The colonial masters left because then they were very antagonistic to the Nigerians, protecting the colonial masters. When they left, the Nigerian politicians took over, the new Ogas. And those new Ogas, the police right now is formed to take care of them. And that's why you see all mopols, you know, do you know that mopol were brought or created in Nigeria to take care of riots? They used to call them riot police.
Yes.
But now they don't do that anymore. They just follow politicians and big men and company executives all over the place. That's why most people, when they go into the police now, they want to go and work in Mopol or in SARS.
Yes.
Because of the money that they are getting. So this problem is intractable.
Yeah.
It's a very, very serious problem.
Because politicians are known to augment the miserable salary of police officers that are attached to them.
Oh yeah, you know, policemen, immediately you even withdraw the mopos that are with him, he will be shouting that they've even withdrawn my security. They've withdrawn he believes that that's his security, you know, and then you want them to be returned.
Okay, so what you just said, he just says he agrees with you, and then he referred back to the establishment of the police and what it was all about. It was about protecting the elite of the time, the colonial, the old colonialists, and Nigerians have simply taken that on, and that is part of the problem.
Because they are not. It's not a police service. It's not a police service.
It's a police
force. They say Nigeria Police Force. You know,
okay.
They are not there to serve us, and that's the problem.
Okay,
Yuri, I think it's estimated that we have about 300,000 police men and women in the country. I can tell you that close to half of that are on civilian civil duty.
Okay.
Guiding homes, escorts, bank executives, protecting banks.
Okay. So that leaves around 150,000 for the rest of us.
Look, a scholar said a successful society...
Well, the police is making money out of this.
Yes.
Okay.
A scholar said a successful society rests on three pillars: the community, the market, and the government. And the interplay of forces amongst these three must be equitable, otherwise you cannot have a balanced society. Now, what we have in the country is that the government is protected. There is no government functionary that is not secured, having police people, mobile policemen. The market, which is the big corporations and their top executives, they are secured. But when you go to our community, where the ordinary people like you and I live,
yes, we're left to our prayers.
Yes, so what happened then is, and it is from this community, it is from our own group, that the bad eggs emanate to go and probe.
Where does all of this lead us? This is the governor has appealed, the governor of Lagos has appealed, please don't protest. Very, very briefly, let me take you to Dennis so I can come and close in studio. Dennis, what are your thoughts on the NSAS protest going on? The governor of Lagos State has appealed to those, maybe to all of Nigeria, but particularly for those in his state, to reconsider and suspend the protest. What do you think?
I think it's a good move, and I think government should be, in fact, the federal government should be more serious about it, because this is a very unique kind of protest. And this protest is unique because there are no leaders. You know, there are no leaders that are controlling the protest, and there is nobody, like you say, NLC.
Yes.
Nobody that is controlling it. Yes, so this spontaneous, and spontaneous strikes are very, very dangerous.
I got to leave it there, Dennis. Thank you very much. I got to leave it there, but thank you very, very much.
All right.
Yeah, it's a spontaneous one, and as Dennis is saying, these can be deadly.
I don't think it's as spontaneous as it appears to look.
Okay.
It's not. I don't think it's spontaneous. I think there's some level of planning.
Okay.
However, if the objectives are extremely clear, it's what I don't know. However, but this is what I want to say.
There are no leaders to it.
We have 36.
No seen leaders.
We have 36 states
Very,
in the
very
country.
briefly, please.
Yes, we have governors in charge of these states. The governor and the presidency should liaise with themselves and engage in different states. Governor of Lagos should speak to those people whom he perceives to be the leaders of this group and then continue this conversation.
Thank you very much, Curtis. I know there's a heck of a lot more to be said, both by Dennis Amakere, MON, former assistant the director of DSS, and indeed, thanks to you as well, Curtis, lawyer and public affairs analyst.
Thank you very much.
Indeed, thank you very much, gentlemen. So that's our program. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I'm Yori Folari. Do stay safe. See you tomorrow.